Hey, welcome everybody. This is a very exciting event. This topic of baby body language is something that we've wanted to host here on Our Birth Journey for a long, long time, and it's certainly something I've been interested in my practice, and I would also say struggled with a lot. Certainly, when I first started doing this work, I had really no idea about what boy babies were trying to tell me, and having worked with Matthew and a bit with Karlton and William Emerson and other people, that's really kind of helped to put it in perspective. So as I say, I'm really excited about this. I think it's very, very useful information for all of us working with babies. And the idea of this really little intro, we've only got half an hour, is to give a brief overview of perhaps what we might cover in future sessions. So we've got one in about 10 days time scheduled, which will be a much longer session. That's on the 4th of December. But for now, what we thought we would do is concentrate more on the period around birth itself. Because baby body language can show up in many, many different ways. So particularly in the prenatal period around what we call umbilical affect, implantation, conception, birth, sperm journey, etc. Many, many different things. So just to keep it simple for today, we thought we'd concentrate actually on what babies are showing us around birth, and particularly on what Karlton calls somatomagnetism, which he's going to be explaining a little bit about today with some images and video, which is very, very kind of specific baby body language to kind of help put it into a little bit of context for us all. So welcome, Karlton. I think everybody here knows you and your wonderful work.
Thank you.
I'll spend time on a huge introduction here, Karlton, but you've been working in this field for many, 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 many years. So it's really great to have you with us.
Thanks. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here because it's such a rich territory working with babies, and it just seems like every few months now I see something new, and I see something like, wow, is this really right? And it makes sense. And all of a sudden, this whole idea of baby body language is just becoming very rich and very clear. It has different categories. And so for me, it's my job to share what I know, because if a baby comes to you and a baby's doing something, and it's clear the baby's doing something, maybe it's asking for attention around an implicit memory that it has. What we're going to teach people is what the baby's saying, what the baby asked for, where and when did something happen, and what can we do about it? And that whole area of education is now very clear. From the perspective of baby body language and somatomagnetism. So it's teachable, and it also is something that the main thing it does is it gives you confidence when you're working, and whatever your practice is. If you're a biodynamic cranial psychotherapist, or a lactation specialist, or a midwife, or a doula, or anybody, osteopath, if you have your hands on a baby, or if you're spending time looking at a baby, wondering what the baby is trying to tell you, that's what we teach. And that's what we want to share, because it makes such a big difference when you know, and you can work with so much confidence, and you can get to the point of what the baby is asking for. And I've discovered a couple of things. Babies never ask for something they don't need. Never. And once you give them what they need, they stop asking for it. It's beautiful. So one of the things this does is it can heal persistent unexplained crying, because it becomes explained and we can do something about it. So that's kind of my starter, John. I don't know if you want it, what you'd like me to do.
Well, you say this phrase, this term, somatomagnetism. I know that's a phrase that you've develop yourself. I'm wondering, and that's specifically around hand gestures and things like this. And could you just explain what it is? Because it might be maybe not familiar for some people what it is.
Yeah, maybe I've got a little PowerPoint I could show that might help a little
Sure.
bit. Shall I go for? Let me share. Um, let me share this. I can make this move. How do I do this? To be continued. I think we're on the wrong end here. So let's start here. I did get into some pretty heavy quantum physics, talking to some friends of mine about how the body creates fields, but we won't get into that deep stuff just yet. What happens when a baby is being born is most babies have part of their cranium pressed against their mother's lumbosacral promontory. And there's a big bone, a big hard solid bone here, and a very thin, partially ossified bone here with a brain on the other side. Sorry, this is backwards, but I wanted to match this baby's left eye with this baby's left eye, because this is an example of somatomagnetism. So many times people think that somatomagnetism is just the baby saying, oh, I'm sleepy, or oh, I'm tired. I'm rubbing my eyes because I'm tired. And actually what happens is when a baby begins to get tired, they're no longer so engaged in the algorithms of their social brain, and they're sleepy. And so the psyche has a chance to begin to point out implicit memories. So that's why these gestures appear when babies are tired. Here's a baby rubbing his right eye because he was a right-sided lion, had this pressure on his right side. And as you descend deeper into the pelvis, then both sides of your cranium are under pressure. So here are some babies showing somatomagnetism, because look, if you look up here, they've descended deeper into the pelvis. So one eye is conjunct the LSP, and the other side of the head is conjunct the pubic symphysis. And so they're feeling it on both sides. And this hair pulling and ear pulling are typical examples of somatomagnetism. And it lasts. Babies still feel bothered by it, and they often attempt ear pulling, I think, to try to make more room in there where it's bugging them. I see it all the time. And I thought today, John, we could talk about stage 3 of birth. I can unshare in a second, and we can decide what to do next. But this picture here is an example of a baby holding both eyes pretty symmetrically, the front of his face, probably demonstrating that during stage 3 of birth, when his face was in the sacrum, or her face, and she was descending and coming out, she would get, Emerson named these conjunct pathways. And it's basically where pressure pushed into these vulnerable, partially ossified bones, and babies still feel something in there. So let me just come back to the group here for a minute, John, and see if this is making sense so far, and where else you might like me to go.
Yes, so Colin, and perhaps some of these patterns are displayed more when a baby maybe is tired, because and a gesture. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. It's ironic because when we see a baby going like this, we say, oh, that baby's tired, or like this, or like any of these things, oh, baby's tired. It's true. But here's what's really happening. The baby's not eating. The baby's not hungry. The baby's not in eye contact because she's getting tired and she's starting to drift off. Her brainwaves are changing. The alpha waves are relaxing. And this is a chance for the psyche to rise up and go, whoa, there's something here. By the way, This happens to a lot of people when they get sleepy. They itch and they move. For babies, when they get sleepy, they begin to point out their implicit memories just randomly with their body. And actually, it's not random. It's among different babies, it's different. But babies do not say, my right eye itches. I'm going to rub it with my right hand after swiping my eyebrows. What happens is this hand, the somatic part of a human body, is attracted to a place where there are unresolved issues that want attention, and they just make contact with it. And it's because they're tired that they're not directing their body movements in a way that they would do by playing or being awake. It's the body, it's implicit memory, it's the body doing it itself. It's the mind, it's the psyche saying, here's where I need help.
Yeah. So I suppose when you say like, here's where I need help, and that's obviously where we come in. So like a big question is then like, how do we work with this therapeutically? I mean, and yeah, I know you got some beautiful video image of you working like off the body and with contact and like all that kind of stuff. So with those kind of patterns of those conjunct sites around the sacrum, for example, how would you work with something like that to help?
Well, yeah, the first step is to identify what stage of, and we're just sticking with birth. We're not going to do anything prenatally.
Yeah, for now.
But what stage did something happen in? You know, the cool thing, William Emerson did all these great theory, and I'm totally by it. Like different stages have different psychological impacts. You know, when you're being crushed, compressions and contractions, that's something else happened if you're lost turning. So the psychological consequences are pretty clear, and we've developed those and deepened those. So once you know what stage something happened in, you can visualize and have empathy for the baby with a lot more accuracy, just knowing what stage something happened in. So if I'm stuck in stage 1 of birth and I just I can't descend, and I'm pressing and can't descend, I'll have a different body experience and a different psychological experience than if I'm trying to turn and I'm feeling lost and I'm getting hurt in a different way. And I'll have a different body experience as if I'm trying to finish my birth. Mm-hmm. So you see, stage 3 is about finishing. Stage 3 is about moving forward, finally moving forward. So when we have stage 3 issues happening, we've got to wonder how that's going to influence our baby. And this, stage 3 issues can be an impediment to moving forward, to crawling, to walking, to empowering oneself to know I can move forward. If I have a short cord and I'm held back and I can't move forward, or my cord's around my shoulder, I've got a movie I can show you where the cord was around the baby's shoulder this way. Look, this way. Placenta was back here. It was around the baby's neck and shoulder and then connected to his umbilical cord. So he was like stuck like this. How's he going to do stage 3? Right? I'll show you the movie in a minute. So let's talk about stage 3 for today. And we can have some images and maybe some videos about what that stage 3 is.
Carl, when we're talking about what the kind of healing process or the repatterning process or however you call it, is like there's it's so much power, isn't there, when obviously the baby's trying to show something, it's trying to show us something, it's trying to show mom something, dad something. And being able to recognize that this place was difficult, right? This was where it was difficult for me, and to be heard in that is immensely powerful, because that seems to be, from my experience, what babies want. They want to be heard, right? And once they're heard, they can kind of move on, like all of us can do that, right? So just in that, without any kind of like complex physical work, there can be a kind of moving on from that place, I think. Yeah.
John, I am so on board with that. From the beginning, I've noticed with both my kids, they want to be seen all the time anyway. Dad, look at me, look at me. Dad, look what I can do. Look what I'm doing. And when you've been hurt, there's that Swedish saying I use. I don't know if you've heard it. I use it a lot. I love it. The saying goes, a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved.
Yeah, we have that in English too. Yeah, it's lovely.
Isn't that true? And so when we can say, okay, baby, we see you're crying, we see you're upset, that's one thing. Then we can give them empathy, and they love empathy. Empathy heals.
Yeah.
And then when we can say, oh my gosh, baby, it really looks like you're crying, and it looks like your forehead and both your eyes are hurting. It seems to be right around here. I wonder what happened right around here, baby. That's a step into deeper empathy and deeper seeing and deeper healing. Baby's like, yeah, thank you for getting that. Then if we can say, oh my goodness, I think you might have been injured when you were trying to descend down your mother's sacrum, maybe up your mother's sacrum. Let me see, let me copy it. I guess it was down your mother's sacrum. You were still down. There wasn't a light at the end of the tunnel for you yet. Okay, wow, baby, I get you. Just that is enormous healing.
Yeah. And of course, in the videos you're going to show in a sec, obviously you're also doing some hands-on work. You're making some contact around these areas as well, aren't you? Yeah.
Well, what happens is I teach palpation, energetic palpation, and you can do it on Zoom, believe it or not. Normally what happens if you address the area of the implicit memory that has been pointed out by the somatomagnetism, if you address that area, normally the baby will take over. Normally the baby will go, yeah, that's it, and just like sort of lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
As if it's going to have this opportunity to do, it really regresses to a place where it was injured. Yeah. And where it's still holding an implicit memory from that injury. So I don't like to touch babies or push on them. I'm not a trained craniosacral therapist or osteopath, but when a baby moves into a birth stage that I know, then I hold that fulcrum for them. I allow my hands to be the bones that I know they were engaged with and that they were struggling with.
I think you've got quite a nice video of that, haven't you, Karlton? Of like that really shows that really clearly.
I got a lot of videos.
There was one we were looking at earlier, which really showed that like turtling motion and that.
Oh, the turtling. Okay. So let's look at, and all that stuff. Yeah. This girl was stuck in stage 2. She couldn't rotate. Well, let's just watch it. Now, it's got a lot of captions, so you can kind of see what's going on. But one thing you will see is how energetic contact is felt by the baby, and the baby takes over and makes the contact and moves into it and asks for a birth canal to go through.
Đấy, bên mình nó quen như thế. Như vậy. Wife is beautiful. With another thing. There we go. That's what I'm interested in. Like that, it's recognition, LSP recognition. Yeah. See the difference from side to side? It's really bad. Yeah. That's weird. Oh. Yeah. You try to turn it yeah.
Is that the video you were talking
Yeah,
about?
yes. Yeah, I know yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got a lot there. So just for people who there was some terminology there, maybe we could just dissect that a little bit. So LSP, which is the lumbosacral promontory, most people will be familiar with that, the baby comes into contact with. And then it's just there. Could you Could you talk a little bit about, because we saw this zigzagging and the turtling, could you just explain a little bit about that, Karlton?
Yeah, this girl Anna, um, she couldn't she couldn't accomplish her rotation in her birth. So she was a right-sided lie baby lying on her mother's LSP, and she had a cord issue, and she couldn't turn. She wanted to turn. You saw so bad. She wanted to turn, and she just couldn't turn. And so she turtled. She pulled back, and finally she wasn't able to rotate in stage 2 and complete her turn so that she could descend down into stage 3. So her whole process was about discovering what happened, and where it happened. It happened in the middle of stage 2, where she couldn't turn for whatever reason. I think in this case she had a cord issue. And because she couldn't turn and tried to turn all these different ways, she was finally a C-section. And her mother brought her because she was having some typical C-section issues, like getting really frustrated if she can't do something, like really frustrated and desperate. She was also having a hard time breastfeeding on one side to the other because of what was going on in her neck while she was trying to rotate. And what you saw here was mostly diagnostic. We tried to figure out what happened, where she was in the birth canal when it happened. And we want to know psychologically what it did for her. And it frustrated her. She was totally innocent. She was doing the right thing that a baby ought to be doing at that stage, to rotate and move down, but she couldn't. And the way her mom was holding her is so sweet. I love that video because there's this deep empathy and curiosity. And so when her name's Anna, when she showed us what happened, she tried zigzagging, she looked around, she turtled, she couldn't get through. We then knew where to go back and work if we were going to do like a birth simulation. But you would also know where to work, like maybe explain what might be going on in her neck. If there's a neck issue, it might help understand why she might breastfeed better on one side than the other, because of implicit memories that are keeping hypotonic muscles on one side of her neck and hypertonic muscles on the other side of the neck. So there's a huge amount of information we can glean just with palpation and looking at her body language and understanding where and when something happened. And when we know where and when, we got a lot more confidence, I think, in whatever kind of, therapeutic process we do.
Yeah. I mean, I find it very interesting, sort of like as a craniosacral therapist, you might think, well, be a good idea to work around this area, temporal area or sphenoid or whatever. And then as you begin to maybe approach that, you kind of see then these kind of micro movements and all kinds of stuff that's going on. And then maybe you back off for a while and maybe make it into a bit of a game. And, you know, it feels like a dance to me. It's very much like an exploration of where we go with this and how far we come in and how far we have to keep away. And it's a really beautiful thing. I know you've got, because we've got to stop in a minute, Colin, but you've got a nice video of showing that kind of like a baby going through the whole stage 3 thing, which is really, really nice. You showed me just
let's see. Oh, I have the one with the baby rotating from stage 2. He's actually controlling my hands. So that my hands become the pelvic fulcrum for him. And I love this one because you can see him being in charge of the whole regression. Maybe this is it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, yeah.
So now he's rotated into stage 3.
Bonus. Who's that bonus? Here I am, everybody. Here I am, everybody. Here I am.
So, yeah, I like that one too, John. It's so sweet because he got to be born, you know, vaginally in a simulation, and you could hear his parents in the background. They were just giggling and laughing with joy. It's just so satisfying. But, you know, the thing about baby body language is if you understand it, then you can enter into a conversation with the baby body language in a way where the baby takes charge of the session until it needs you to do what it needs you to do. And then all you have to do is step in and do it. So I love teaching baby body language because it gives us more confidence and clarifies our job that day.
Yeah. Wonderful. So the idea of this, as I said, we're going to start on the 4th of December, and we're going to start by looking, as we say, more around birth. I've got some footage that I did, which shows it's a very interesting situation where, again, a baby was born with a cord around the neck, and how baby was desperate to show the parents what had happened and working with it. So there's a lot in that one. So that session we would use as a first kind of demo, but also Karlton was saying, you know, we're very open to people in the future maybe bringing their own videos or their own photos to these sessions, and we can discuss them, and hopefully that will be very useful. And of course, this is a huge topic area. You know, so when you track back to sort of more prenatal issues, particularly like umbilical affect or things around implantation, that can get a little bit more complex, but we definitely want to explore those areas as well. So please do join us. Have a look at ourbirthjourney.com, and as I say, we're starting on Monday the 4th of December. So please do join us. And thank you so much, Karlton, for your time.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate where you're coming from. I love supporting and working with OBJ. Thank you for sponsoring this project. I think we're both going to like it. I know you and I will like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about it. So great. Thank you, everybody. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.